Almost every explanation of the OCD loop draws 4 steps: a trigger, an intrusive thought, alarm, then a compulsion. There is a 5th step, and it is the one doing the work. It is the short arrow that runs from the compulsion to relief. This video is about that arrow, where the relief comes from, why it gets shorter, and what response prevention asks you to do with it instead. I am going to use one specific compulsion the whole way through, because it is the one almost everybody has and the one almost nobody counts. Reassurance seeking. 2 things before anything else. This is educational material. It is not therapy, it is not diagnosis, and it is not a substitute for professional care. If you are in crisis right now, in the United States you can call or text 988. Outside the US, find a helpline.com lists services by country. Both are on screen and in the description. And so you know exactly who is talking. The workbook pages you will see are pages I make and sell. I will show you the real ones, and there is a free sample, and I will tell you where it is once. Start with what reassurance seeking actually is, because the obvious version is the smallest version. The obvious version is asking a person, asking your partner whether you would ever do that, confessing a thought so somebody else can rule on it, describing the thought in careful detail so the verdict counts. Here is a real page. This is page 16 of the Pure O and Rumination workbook, and it is called Reassurance Audit, Self-Reassurance Counts. Look at what it lists as sources. Myself, silent self-reassurance. Mental review, checking the tape. Google, articles, and AI chatbots. Forums and social media, symptom comparing. Friends, family, partner. 4 of those 5 happen with nobody else in the room. Silent self-reassurance is the big one. The page calls you the biggest dealer. It is the internal "it is fine, you would never, everyone does that," delivered to yourself dozens of times a day in under a second. It does not feel like a compulsion because it does not look like anything. And the newest source on that list has its own box on the page: the chatbot trap. Asking an AI or a search engine to settle the question one last time is reassurance seeking with infinite patience on the other end. It will always answer. So the ritual never hits a natural wall. A person eventually says, "We talked about this." Software never does. Now the mechanism. Why does a loop that includes relief get tighter rather than looser? 3 things are happening, and in the ERP account all 3 sit on that 4th to 5th step. First, the relief arrives after the compulsion, not after the thought, after the checking. That order matters because whatever comes last gets the credit. The alarm went off, you asked. The alarm went quiet. From the inside, that reads as one clean story: the asking worked. Which also means the reverse story was never tested. You did not find out what the alarm does when nobody answers it. That is the experiment the loop keeps you from running. Second, the scope creeps. One source stops being enough, not because it failed, but because it succeeded and then wore off. So a second source gets recruited. The partner, then the search bar, then the forum, then your own head at 2 in the morning. This is why the audit page has a column for how often and a column for how long relief lasts. Those 2 columns are the creep, written down in your own handwriting. Third, and this is the one that does the real damage, the certainty threshold rises. Answer that settled it last month does not settle it today. Same question, same answer, and it no longer lands. So the question gets sharper, more specific, more technical. You are no longer asking whether you are a good person. You are asking about one particular second of one particular Tuesday. The page has a sentence for this. Reassurance treats the anxiety, not the doubt, and feeds the doubt in the process. That is why the exit is not a better proof. Any proof you assemble is audited. I am not going to put a number on how fast that happens or how many people it happens to. I do not have a source I would stand behind for either, so there is no statistic in this video. What I can do is show you the page where you measure it on yourself. Which brings up the objection I would raise if I were watching this. How do I tell reassurance from an ordinary question? People ask each other things. Looking something up is normal. Am I supposed to never check anything again? No, and there is a test. This is page 8 of the same workbook. Thinking versus compulsing, the litmus-test. The page calls itself the most important page in the book, and it does not ask what you are thinking about. It asks what the thinking is for. If the mental activity is trying to solve the thought, neutralize it, or reach certainty about it, that is the ritual. No matter how intelligent, responsible, or philosophical it feels. The page runs 6 contrasts. Thinking has a reachable endpoint, decide, plan, done. Compulsing circles the same ground with no finish line. Thinking feels voluntary, you can put it down mid-thought. Compulsing feels gripped, and putting it down feels irresponsible. Thinking uses new information from the world. Compulsing recycles the same memories and hypotheticals. Thinking tolerates good enough. Compulsing demands 100% before you are allowed to stop. And then there is a 5-second version you can run in your head. If a genie guaranteed you total certainty on this question, would you still be thinking about it? If the answer is no, the topic was never the point. The certainty was. So what does ERP ask instead? ERP, Exposure and Response Prevention, is the guideline first approach clinicians use for OCD. The response prevention half is the part everybody skips, and it is the half this video is about. It is not thought stopping. It is not proving the thought false. It is not deciding to stop thinking, which nobody can do on command anyway. It is one decision made in advance about what you do when the urge shows up. Here is that page. Harm OCD Workbook, page 24, Your Response Prevention Plan. 3 columns. When I get the urge to, instead I will, my delay or limit rule. The first sentence on it is the whole reason it exists. Exposures are scheduled. Compulsions are ambushes. You are not going to out-argue this in the moment, so the moment is not when you decide. The page gives 3 instead moves. Label and allow, that is the thought, it can stay, I am not investigating today. Delay, I can do it in 20. And the uncertainty response, maybe, maybe not, said once, and not repeated as a new ritual. These pages are mine, from workbooks I sell. There is a free 4-page sample linked first in the description. No email needed. Back to the audit because I want to show you the part that is not a reading exercise. This is the 4th column, how long relief lasts. I am filling 3 rows and now, asked my partner, 20 minutes. Searched it, 10 minutes then worse. Reviewed it in my head, no clear end. That is it. That is the mechanism in your handwriting on 1 page. Nobody had to convince you the relief is short. You wrote down that it is short. The page says to look at the last column, and that if relief reliably fades within hours or minutes, you now have written proof. Written by you is the operative part. Same page, 2 ways. This is the print edition, for writing by hand. This is the fillable edition, the identical page as a form you can type into. The bundle ships both, because printing is not available to everyone, and that should not be the thing that stops you. 2 pages later, the part that makes response prevention survivable. Page 30, the checking delay tracker. Because some compulsions you cannot simply stop, especially mental review, and pretending otherwise sets up a failure you will read as evidence. Columns, date, the urge, what I wanted to check or review. Delay used, urge after the delay, 0 to 10. Still did it, yes or no. Note what that last column is for. It records the slip. Page that has nowhere to write down the slip is a page you abandon in week 1. The progression on it is deliberately unimpressive. Week 1, delay 10 to 15 minutes and do something engaging while you wait. Week 2, 30 to 45. Week 3 and after, I will deal with it tomorrow. The page's own note, functionally, that is response prevention. And the facing page, page 29, the 7-day reassurance detox. 1 source from your audit, cut for 7 days. Not all of them. 1. Day, urges felt, strongest urge, gave in yes or no notes. 7 rows, that is the whole design. It is small enough to actually do. Now the failure mode, because this one is specific to paper, and I would rather say it than have you discover it. Writing can become the compulsion. Reading your audit for reassurance. Logging the same urge 3 times to be sure the log is accurate. Asking yourself, was that thinking or was that compulsing, and then reviewing it, which is checking. About checking. The litmus page has a box for exactly this, and it is titled Don't Weaponize This Page. The rule that follows from it is the one design rule I would apply to any worksheet, mine or anyone else's. The writing has to terminate. 1 row, 1 entry, put the pen down. If a page is making you write more this week than last week about the same fear, the page has been recruited. Close it and use the delay tracker instead. Last thing, and it is the boundary. What paper can do. Make an invisible pattern visible in your own words, and hold a decision you made while calm so you can find it later while you are not. What paper cannot do. Assess you, tell you whether what you are describing is OCD at all, adapt when a plan is not working, or sit in the room with you while it is hard. Those are a clinician's job, and the last page of every one of these workbooks is about how to find one and what to look for. This is educational material. Not therapy, not diagnosis, not a substitute for professional care. If the litmus page is the one you want, it is page 2 of the free sample. First link in the description, no email. The bundle it comes from is 3 workbooks: Harm, OCD, Pure O and Rumination, and Scrupulosity. 134 pages of material, print and fillable, $21.99. Thanks for watching.